Star Citizen, the forever alpha game, the screenshot simulator. Why have people stuck with a game that's not even a complete game for so long? Well, Star Citizen as a space sim is unrivaled, with no other game out there able to give you such an engaging and immersive experience of flying a ship out amongst the stars. The ships feel polished, and the piloting and combat straddles that important line of being realistic and still being simple enough to be able to have fun. And as the game develops, that experience only manages to get better. And that immersion is super important in the space sim genre. Like with first-person shooter games, it's important to have situational awareness, meaning the ability to know where an enemy is somewhere in front of you, behind you, to the left or right of you. But with a space game, not only do you need to have situational awareness in front, behind, left, and right, but also above you and below. And on top of that, all those directions are constantly changing from your frame of reference as you yourself are going upside down, tilting this way and that, since, of course, there's no right way up in space. And that's where the Tobii Eye Tracker 5 comes in. The Tobii is a hardware peripheral for the PC that tracks your head and eye movements to be relayed in-game as camera movements and extra ship combat features. I've been using the Tobii Eye Tracker 5 for a year now, and with Star Citizen 3.23 coming out, including the new master modes and some new changes to how Tobii works, it's time to take another look at the Tobii Eye Tracker in 2024. So if you've never used a Tobii Eye Tracker before, you might be asking, okay, yeah, so it can control the camera, so what? I can do that with my mouse. Well, remember when I told you about the difficulties of situational awareness in space? Trying to keep track of things as they fly around you while you yourself are flying up, down, left, right, upside down, every possible direction is extremely difficult, but mastering that is the ultimate key to becoming a great pilot. And using the Tobii Eye Tracker for the first time can reveal exactly how much information our eyes and head are consistently trying to gather to keep that awareness up. For instance, you'll be flying straight forward and see someone fly past you to the left. Before using the Tobii, I'd have a few options. Ignoring it and keep going on what I was focusing on, gambling on if they were a threat and about to turn around and pursue me or not, or I could hold the F button to go into free cam mode and try and see if I can switch my viewing angle to see them in time before they passed. Or straight up just turn the whole ship around to face them and evaluate the situation, potentially opening myself up for attacks from my blind spots. And after using the Tobii for a year now, I find I have much more confidence in my situational awareness, since because of the eye tracking, if I'm aware of that ship, that means I've seen it. And if I've seen it, then the Tobii has already brought that ship into my area of focus, so I can assess it, and if it's nothing to worry about, my head and eyes will go back to whatever else I was focusing on, all at the speed of thought, without ever needing to make a conscious effort on what I should do.
Yeah, I did an ocular pat down and I cleared him.
Say what?
I'm sorry?
I'm saying that I did an ocular assessment of the situation, garnered that he was not a security risk, and I cleared him for passage.
In fact, the time it takes to turn your camera towards a ship manually, you could have already done that with a bunch of different targets on screen. Not only does it help with just spotting targets, but pursuing and attacking them also, since if you're not in free cam mode, then you're still capable of all regular flight controls, allowing you to keep your eyes dead on them while you correct your flight path to intercept. And you're also able to lock on missiles, tag targets, all without having to even change course. Meaning that if you and your opponent had the exact same ship, turned at the exact same time, entered missile mode at the same time, because you had that extra time for your missiles to lock on, you're going to be able to get your volley of missiles fired off first every time, making you the more deadly pilot, especially with the new master modes added in this 3.23 update. So what about master modes makes this important in particular? Well, in short, master modes means you will always be flying either at slow speeds with the ability to fire weapons and shields up, or you'll be flying at faster speeds with no weapons and no shields. The purpose of this being so that space combat is much more closer and intimate, and making the decision to leave a fight one that takes more consideration to be able to do safely. Consideration that requires, you guessed it, situational awareness. For combat, this ultimately means a lot less jousting, flying at each other at breakneck speeds with only a split second to get your shots in, and more intense close quarters dogfighting, where things like being able to fire missiles off first is even more deadly, since for them to get distance from you to recharge shields is a lot harder at slower speeds, and to speed up requires them to lower their shields, leaving them even more vulnerable. And it's just as important if you're not into the combat aspects of Star Citizen, since say you're a salvager, courier, or miner and want to avoid any danger, that extra level of awareness can keep you from getting into combat in the first place, or allow you to find the right opening where you can safely spool your QT drive with shields down to make it out of there safely, long before they're aware of it. And having used the Tobii Eye Tracker 5 for a year now, I can say the latest updates they have implemented in Star Citizen 3.23 are a huge improvement. In the settings, you can change all sorts of values to make it work exactly how you'd like it to, and for everyone it's different. I like the eye tracking, but often I'll lean towards setting it up more of the face tracking is more responsive over the eye tracking, since I can be easily distracted and my eyes dart around a lot, which could be distracting to some, and for me that is. But Tobii's updated camera boost mode has it so that if your face is looking forward, your eye tracking is limited. But the further I'm facing the outer edges of the monitor, the more responsive the eye tracking becomes, which for me is the perfect mix of responsiveness. But that's why it's so important to be able to tune these settings so exactly within Star Citizen natively, since the more comfortable you get with tracking and the better you get with flying, the more responsive you will likely want it to be. And so they've made it very easy to be able to raise and lower responsiveness and adjust the dead zones, etc. on the fly within the menu. It's easy to set up and use also. Just plug it in, slap it on your monitor, run a quick setup where it asks you to stare at a few dots on screen to calibrate itself, then once you're playing Star Citizen, hit the / button to toggle it on and off. Easy as that. And there's no problem if you wear glasses or play in the dark or with the lights on, as the IR sensors will be able to track you with no problem. And to celebrate the release of 3.23 and the new Tobii Eye Tracker features in Star Citizen, the Tobii Eye Tracker 5 is currently 15% off. And on top of that, they're also currently running a competition to win a Tobii Eye Tracker 5, as well as a bunch of Star Citizen starter packs with the new Anvil F7C Hornet Mark II. To enter, check out the link in the description for your chance to win or to take advantage of the 15% off while it lasts. Thanks Tobii for sponsoring this video. As usual, my name's Dead Leader, and I'll see you out there in the verse. And thank you to Granite Salvo for joining my Patreon recently. Don't worry, I'll return your car with as little soup stains as possible this time, I swear.